Okay, so let's get into a scenario where you have to worry about tips and tax, right? Say you go out to a restaurant or you're going out to a place with your friends, right? And you need to decide, how much to pay somebody based on, what service they gave you, right? So we're going to be talking about some tips. We got tips and taxes, tips and taxes. So we could also be talking about when somebody is, when you're buying something and you have to actually purchase the item, and there's the item that you pay for, but then you also have to pay either the government, it could be the local government or the state government or the federal government, a certain tax, right? So we're going to talk about both of those. So let's look at a situation here. Let's say that you got this guy named Paul, right? And let's say that he is ordering some pizza and some breadsticks. Okay, so he's ordering pizza and breadsticks. Right? So that's our order, pizza and breadsticks. And let's say that when he orders this, that the total is going to come out to $23. $23.40. Okay. Now, Paul's a nice guy. He wants to give this guy a nice tip, or whoever the person is, maybe they're delivering, right? And he wants to give them a nice tip. And a nice tip for that is a 20% tip. So he'd like to leave a 20% tip for this delivery driver. Okay. But how much actually is the tip, right? How much is 20% of $23.40? Well, let's think about this for a minute. Okay. Now, we're talking about the word percent. Okay. So when we're talking about the word percent or the symbol percent, right? Percent. We're actually talking, this literally means out of 100. Okay. We're talking about out of 100. Percent literally means percent, per centi, right? That's 100. So we're talking about out of 100. So what we're actually talking about when we're talking about a 20% tip is we're actually talking about 20. So let's put it over here. Let's say we're actually talking about 20 out of 100. Out of 100. We're literally talking about 20 out of 100, right? Where the 20 is the tip that we'd like to pay. Our tip. This is our tip that we'd like to pay, and the 100 represents the $23.40, or the total original cost, right? So the total original cost was that $23, and we'd like to leave 20 out of 100 more for this person, right? So let's look at that for a second. We can write this actually as this thing called a proportion, right? We can kind of put this as a proportion here. And we're going to take the 20, this 20 in the tip, and we're going to say tip is T, right? So we'll just say tip is T, all right? And we're going to put those on in the numerator. So I'm going to write a fraction here. We've got tip is this T out of the $23.40. And then that should be equal to or proportionate to the 20, right? Because T and 20 are the same thing out of the 100, right? And those should also be the same thing, that $23.40, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to solve this proportion, right? I'm going to solve for T. So I need to cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply 23.4 by 20 times 20. And I'm going to set that equal to, why don't we actually put this in the right color just so we can make sure we're not getting confused here. So this is the 23.40, there we go, times 20. And that should be equal to T, right? T times 100. T times 100. And this is the new equation that we're trying to solve, right? We're trying to solve for t. So we need to get t by itself. So we're going to divide by 100 here on this side, and on this side we're going to divide by 100. And so we get finally that t is equal to this 23.4 times 20 divided by 100. 23.40 times 20 all over our 100. Okay? So let's solve that. So 23.40, let me do it over here. We've got 23.4 being multiplied by 20. Remember, we don't have to line up our decimal point because we're multiplying. We get zeros for the first three numbers, right? Because it's 20 0 here. That's 0 times 4 times 3 times 2. We have to have our placeholder. And then we get 2 times 4, which is 8. 2 times 3, which is 6. 2 times 2, which is 4. We'll add all those up. We get 0 plus 0 plus, or sorry, not 0. We get 0 plus, there we go. We get 8 there, 0 plus 8. 0 plus 6 is 6, and then 4. And then since we started with one decimal point here, we have to move one decimal place over. So 23.40 times 20 would give us 468 on the top. And that's still over 100. Now, when we divide by 100, there's a couple ways you can do that, right? You can actually place the 468 in the inside of our, long division symbol here, make it our dividend, right? And then we can divide it by 100. And we know that 100 is going to go in there 4 times, right? And then we're left with 68 4 times, because that's 400. We'll subtract. We're left with just 68. And then we'd have to add our decimal point. And then eventually we would start adding zeros here. We can go in there 6 times, so we get 4.6. And then we have 80 left, and then we'll do that same thing one more time, drop down to 0, and then we get 468. So we know that if we divide 468 by 100, we're going to get $4.68. Now, the other way you can do that is you can actually just move the decimal place over twice. Do you see how for every 0 we moved a decimal place over here? We've got this one here and then that one, right? That's kind of the same thing. So when you divide by 100, it's not kind of, it's exactly the same thing. When you divide by 100, you actually move the decimal place over twice. Either way, t is going to be equal to 468 or $4.68. Okay? So the tip that we should be leaving this driver is $4.68 for an order that was $23.40 total. Okay. And then if you wanted to figure out what your total bill was, right, you'd add up this $23.40 and the $4.68, and that's like $28 or something like that, right? And you'd add those up. Okay. But that's how I think that's actually 28. I think it's $28. Yeah, that's $28.06, right? So your total bill would be $28.06, but the tip is that $4.68. That's how you would get the, tip for a certain size order, right? Now, let's say that we have another scenario, right? And we have, say, you're going to a store, right? Say you're going to Marshall's. I don't know. Say you're going to Marshall's and you're going to spend, maybe like let's say $125.50. Okay. So you go to Marshall's and you spend $125.50 and you are, purchasing this. You're in Indiana, so you're going to be charged a 7% sales tax. Okay. a 7% sales tax. So if you buy something, the government is going to charge you an extra 7% to, actually purchase this item. All right. And again, that is going to raise the total cost. So you're not actually just buying this $125.50 worth of clothes, or whatever it is you're buying. You're also having to pay that 7% sales tax. Okay. Now, when you're doing that, you're doing this exactly the same way that we kind of worked out our tip problem, right? We want to know you're almost giving them a 7% tip, which is kind of weird to think about, but you're trying to give them the 7% tip. And in order to do this, we have to figure out how much 7% is of this 125. Okay. So let's change. Well, first thing we're going to do is change the 7% to a decimal. Okay. So let's change the 7% to a decimal. Again, percent means out of 100. So we're looking at 7 out of 100, 7 out of 100, right? 7%, which is the same thing as 0.07. If we did all of that math that we did before, you'd get 0.07, okay? And again, that's also the same thing as moving this decimal place over twice. What you can do that we didn't do on the last one, we plugged everything in here, we solved for proportion, and then we solved for t. You can actually make this simpler by just multiplying 0.7 by that 125.50, that $125.50. And that's actually going to give you the sales tax, okay? And the reason for that is if you look here at this piece, right, you've got this divided by 100, all of this stuff, right? You're kind of taking out that step and you're trying to make this just a little bit more streamlined. So you're dividing that 7% by the 100 first, that's 7 out of 100, making it a decimal, and then just multiplying like you would before, okay? So if we multiply that, we have 125.50 times that 0.7. So we have 0.07. We're multiplying, right? So we can just get rid of that. We have 7 times 0, which gives us 7. 7 times 5, which is 35. Carry that 3. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 3 is 38. Carry your 3. 7 times 2 gives us 14, plus 3 gives us 17. The 1, 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. And the rest of them are 0, so we don't need to worry about that. So then what we're going to do is we're going to put our decimal points in there, right? So we have this here, right? So we have 2 there and 2 there. And so we're going to move this over 4 times, and that gives us our answer of 8.785. 7. We don't need to worry about that 7. Actually, it's not a 7, it's a 0, right? 7 times 0 is 0. So this actually doesn't need to be there. So that's good. So we don't need that. And so we get 8.785. We don't use money in thousandths, right? We only go up to the hundreds place. So we're just going to round this up. We're going to round, and that's actually going to just turn out to be $8.79. Round up, right? Because this 5 tells us that we're going to go up. So we have $8.79. And this would be the sales tax. This is the sales tax in Indiana for a $125.50 purchase. If you add all those up, right, you have 125.50 plus $8.79. That should be equal to 9. That's what, 133. So that should be $133.99 for your total bill.